I want to introduce our guest today, Chris Ball. I had the honor of meeting him at a flower hire event. Chris is the CEO and founder of Ball Family Farms. Chris, if you could turn your video on for us, please. What's up, bro? How you doing?
What's cracking, my guy? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, the pleasure is ours, man. The pleasure is ours. Where are you at right now? Is this the office?
This is the office in my house. So this is my home office. I got a little home dungeon at the crib.
All right, cool. Yeah, man, excited to get into it. When I met you, what was that, like 2 months ago? We were on the clock. I think we had like 15 minutes to talk. And we had Vlad, shout out to Happy Monkey. So we really didn't get into the weeds. We just kind of hit that top level. I'm excited to really just like really get into this and learn a little bit more about who you are, how this all got going. So just off the top, I mean, who are you? How'd you get into this? Where are you from?
Yeah, so my name is Chris Ball, as you said, and I am the CEO and founder of Ball Family Farms. We are the first vertically integrated social equity company here in Los Angeles. We have the biggest footprint out of all social equity applicants with 100,000 square feet. And, it's a family-owned business. I run it, with my brother, my cousin, a couple other family members that work for the company. And I am a trap guy, a trap convicted drug felon, turned legit, so to speak. I got my start in cannabis when I was 16, is when I got my first ounce of weed, actually, and I got it from my cousin Earl. My cousin Earl was a neighborhood weed man at the time. And cousin Earl, shot me an ounce. Cousin Earl was always pretty fresh, always had fresh white t-shirts, always had fresh Jordans, jewelry, shit like that. And I idolized them a little bit, growing up in the inner city. There's only a couple ways we know to make it out. And it's either, you're going to be a sports athlete, you're going to be some sort of entertainer, or you're going to be a drug dealer. It's going to be one of those three. That's kind of how I grew up. So cousin Earl was pushing weed and he gave me my first ounce, and I tried to get down. And at 16, I wasn't very good. I was mainly focused on sports and girls at 16. And so when I got the weed in my hand, I wanted to kind of be like cuz, but it just didn't really work out. I probably sold like half of it and gave the other half of it away. Tried to smoke some, wasn't really for me, got super paranoid and shit. Had to have my mom come get me from school. That's a whole nother story. But so, I kind of put it down. At that point I said, maybe this is not for me. And then once I graduated from high school, my parents told me that they couldn't afford to send me to college, so my dad gave me the old pep talk: you either gonna work, or you're gonna go to school. So I wasn't ready to go out and get a job yet at that point. So I decided to move out. I moved in with a friend of mine and went to junior college. And so when I got to junior college, I called my cousin Earl back and I said, look, let's run this again. Let's try this again. Obviously this was, 2 years later. And I had matured a little bit, and I knew if I couldn't put myself through school and get some money in my pocket, I wasn't going to be able to continue to play football and make it to college and try to make it to the NFL, because those were my aspirations. My aspirations were to be a pro football player. So cousin Earl ran it back this time, but this time, I took it a lot more serious and I made it work. And so for 2 years in junior college, it's how I paid my tuition. I was selling weed out my backpack to put food in my stomach, gas in my car, shoes on my feet, pay for my books, things like that, until I eventually got my football scholarship to Berkeley in 1997. Ooh, I just aged myself. 98, yeah. So I'm 43. So once I got my football scholarship to Berkeley, I put it down. I had been doing it and I felt like, I got a scholarship now. I don't have to pay for anything. I'm actually getting paid to go to school. I'm going to, graduate from college, and I'm going to go play in the NFL and live life happily ever after. Well, that didn't happen. Okay. So did get to graduate from college, spend a little time with the 49ers, then went over, they sent me over to NFL Europe, where I played in Berlin, Germany for a year, came back home, signed a 3-year deal in the CFL in Canada. And when I got to Canada, this is where I got bit, by the cultivation bug of growing. Before then, I was just a trapper. You know, I got the weed from cousin Earl, broke it down, sold it, made my money. Now is the first time I ever saw cannabis, you know, from seed to harvest, you know, and when I saw this process, I just fell in love with the process of it. You know, I never knew how weed actually became weed. So when I was able to see it, you know, go from a little bitty seed, pop to a clone, pop to, you know, mother plant and then veg and then bloom, I was immersed and completely amazed by the process. So in Canada, how I would supplement my income in Canada, you know, Canada weedware was very, very cheap. I was in Vancouver, in British Columbia, and it's very, very cheap there. And how we would supplement our income is during the off season, you know, we would load up our cars and pop the border, you know, over in Bellingham. So I would take my football money, buy pounds of weed, put them in my trunk, hit the border, use my football credentials, and drive 16 hours all the way down to LA, you know, and bring it to my spots. So I became very, very popular during this time, to where once I stopped playing, I was making so much money doing that eventually I was just like, I don't even really need to play football anymore. After my third year, I was like, this is done. Like, I'm gonna just go trap in LA and, you know, take care of my family.
How
So
much was like, how much would you bring across?
we would bring about 20, 30 pounds at a time, you know, and we were paying, you know, back then, thank God, statute of limitations. I could talk about this now, but thank God back then, you know, I was picking up pounds for about $800, you know, $900 in Canada, and getting them back down to LA and flipping them for about 3,500, you know. So I was killing, bro. Like, we had a good little system going. It was working. Everything was dope. And so once I finished playing, came down to LA and started doing that full time, you know, my street cred and my stripes and my popularity grew very, very fast. I became known as the football player, you know, with the packs on the low. I was getting it so cheap, I was able to undercut the market. And I got so big that eventually I attracted the attention of the federal government. You know, I touched a couple guys I wasn't supposed to touch. Next thing you know, the feds is knocking at my door, and I get indicted in 2010. I got busted with 2,000. Well, they charged me with 2,000 pounds to conspiracy to distribute 2,000 pounds across the United States. So went in, you know, I was looking at a 10-year mandatory minimum on my case. Go figure, right? Nonviolent cannabis crimes, but you're looking at 10 years. This is back in 2010. And I pled out. You know, it was the case was a lot bigger than what I knew. One of my guys was actually being investigated for a few years. He was working for a very, very prominent drug cartel family that I will not name at this point in time because I can't, but we'll leave that alone. And so I just pled out. You know, they offered me a deal to plead out. I pled out for 30 months, I signed my deal, went in, paid my debt to society, you know, and came out. Once I came out, you know, I had to get a job, you know, and going from a kid who never really had a regular job his whole life. You know, I think I worked at Sizzler in high school for a quick minute, you know, and quit that. I was a busboy, but, you know, I'd come out, I've been selling weed since I moved out of the house. I got a football scholarship. I went and played some pro football. So I never really had, you know, a regular job. So I got out, I was 32 years old when I came out.
What year was this?
This was in 2000 and what year did I come up? This is in 2010, 2010 or 11, somewhere around there. All right. So I come out and my lawyer's like, you know, you got to get a job. You know, you're going to be on probation. You need to be working. You know, they're going to be watching you. So I went and got a job in the mall, worked at Abercrombie and Fitch, man with a degree, go work in the mall with 18, 19-year-olds in full t-shirts. Now, I'm an incredible folder. If you see the t-shirts in my drawers, you guys will flip your shit, right? Because I was doing that for a minute. But I was really unhappy, man. You know what I'm saying? I worked there for 2 years, and then I got headhunted by Nike. Nike brought me in to run the NFL department for them out of Las Vegas and Caesar's Palace. So then I did that, you know, for another 2 years. And then in 2014, man, I just wasn't happy. You know, the industry was just calling me back. So once I got off of probation, as soon as I got off probation, I went to court, got off probation. The next thing I did was I quit my situation over at Nike and went and bought a 14 light grow in Van Nuys, California. Don't ask me why. Don't ask me what I was smoking. This is just what I felt. I was just following my heart. right? My mom was upset. My family was upset. My friends were like, dude, you're out of your mind. Like, you just got done with all this. You're really going to go back to that? I said, this is what I love to do. This is just who I am. You know what I mean? Corporate America ain't for me. So I started growing on my own in 2014, and I was really fucking bad. I was really not good at it. Like, I don't even think the first year I made it through a complete harvest. I don't think I was just in there burning up plants and doing all kind of crazy shit in that grow. But I was learning, each time I failed provided, a learning curve for me, until eventually after the first year, I got through my first harvest. And then after that, I started getting really good at it. I started kind of paying a little bit more attention and taking it a hell of a lot more serious. And in 2016, I started moving, my product to the Prop D compliant shops. A lot of my boys had dispensaries around LA. So I started moving work, to them. And this is how I sustained myself. Until 2018, a partner of mine told me about the social equity license in Los Angeles, and Ball Family Farms was born, bro.